Hello and welcome to this Axiom demo video. Today I'm going to show you how to use tool masks. In a recent update, tool masks got a major overhaul, so this is a good opportunity for me to make a video teaching you the basic ropes. So tool masks are incredibly powerful. They allow you to modify the behavior of tools, changing the blocks that they are able to affect with some very simple logic or very complex logic. So as a basic example here, if I'm using the painter tool here, normally the painter will just paint every single block, but let's say I only wanted to paint the grass blocks here. What I can do is I can type in block is equal to grass underscore block here, and if I now start using the painter tool, as you can see, all of the blocks over here are left alone and the grass blocks are affected. So tool mask, very useful. One thing you should keep in mind is that the tool mask will only apply if you have the window visible. So if you close the window here, then the tool mask will get disabled. So make sure that you either have it open, or you can also dock it over here, or you can put it inside of a window like this, and that will also apply. Alright, so there's actually two ways that you can create masks. You can create it by typing in the text box like I did, or you can create it by dragging these blocks over and doing a bit of block coding. So let's do a bit of that. And I'm going to start by dragging over the OR logic mask here, which will basically check if any of the conditions are true. And so let's go ahead and put this inside, and let's check if the block is going to be grass or let's say dirt, right? Let's put in dirt. I'm going to move this over here. So we have some dirt over here. This is dirt. And if we were to start using the tool now, you can see that it is replacing, as you would expect, both grass and dirt. One thing I will show quickly is that if you have a custom palette here, let's create a palette and let's fill it with some blocks. For example, let's say stone and granite and andesite here. You can actually drag blocks from the palette in. So if we drag in here, you can see we just dragged in a stone or granite. And if you drag in the palette itself, it'll do a mask for all of them. So that's just a nice quality of life thing. You can also drag these blocks around, right? And this is true basically of everywhere in Axiom. So this is something that not many people know, but yeah, so you can just drag these block icons around, like so. And by the way, unrelated to tool mask, but quick tip here, you can actually drag blocks from the window here directly into the world. So if I drag it on top of the grass here, you can see it flood replaces all of the grass. Or if I have a selection here and I drag it into the selection, it'll fill the selection. So that's not related to masks, but it's a fun little thing I guess I should show because it's something that not many people are aware of. Alright, but back to the masks here. So I just showed you the OR mask and the basic blocks. However, there's also more complex logic you can do. So for example, let's say we wanted to mask, let's do the previous thing we were doing, right, with grass blocks or dirt blocks, but let's add an additional condition that has to be true at the same time. So for this, we'll use an AND, so that it has to, both of the things have to be true. And what we'll check is we'll check if the above block is air, right? And so if you look down here, you can see that a lot of these blocks don't have air above, they actually have the short grass above. So if we were to start using the painter tool now, you can see that the blocks that have that short grass above them are left unaffected because the above equals air condition is failing, and therefore the entire mask is failing. So yeah, you can create fairly complex logic just by building stuff together here with OR and AND. You can also use NOT. So for example, if you want the above block to not be air, right, we can do that as well. And so now it's only painting the blocks that have a block other than air above them. So this is the short grass here. There's also an offset logic mask, which I'm not going to go into detail because it's a bit more complicated. But if you want to ask any questions about masks, feel free to join the Discord server for Axiom and make a post in the support channel, and I'll be sure to help you out. Alright, so moving on, let's talk about some of the other basic masks you have access to. So above obviously checks the block above, below checks the block below, fairly self-explanatory. We also have near mask here. So near will check if a block is nearby. So for example, let's check if, let's for example do the farmland here, and we can just drag this over into the mask, and we'll check whether that's in a radius of 1, right? And let's paint with the red concrete here. And as you can see, that is painting everything that is within 1 block of the farmland. Just for funsies, let's also make sure the block isn't farmland. So let's do near farmland and not block is equal to, I guess let's drag, where's the farmland here? Drag it in. So now this is going to paint blocks that are near farmland, but not farmland, right? So it's only on the border of the farmland, which you can see allows you to do neat, cool things like this. Now, near also has a radius, which can go all the way up to 16. If you put a number greater than 16, it'll just clamp it down to 16. But if we, for example, put in a much larger radius, you can see that now it is painting all of these blocks here that are within 16 blocks of the farmland. We can measure it just for fun. That is 16 blocks. So yeah, very, very powerful near mask there. Next up we have neighbor. So neighbor basically is similar to near, but it only checks the exact cardinal directions. So plus y, plus x plus z minus z, right? So I guess let me build that for you just so you can kind of get an intuition. I forgot I have no clip on. And yeah, so if this is the center block, right, neighbor will check all 6 blocks like this, right, on all 6 faces. Let's go ahead and open up this again. And yeah, so this is what neighbor will check. And it checks if any of the blocks touching it. So it's not all of the blocks, it's any of the blocks. Next up, there's adjacent, which is similar to neighbor, but only the horizontal blocks. So basically, get rid of these 2. These are the blocks that adjacent checks. And if any of these blocks match, then the mask will be true. Next up, we have, so those are all the block-based masks. Then there's the biome mask here. Fairly self-explanatory. You can put in a biome and it will mask that. I'm not even sure what biome this is. Plains, I guess. Type that in. So obviously this is just going to paint the entire area because this is all plains, but you get the idea, right? Next up, we have the numeric masks. So the first one is Y. So you can basically compare the Y level to a particular value, right? So for example, let's get the highest point here. What is the highest point? Looking in the top right at target info, the highest point is 44. So let's do Y is less than or equal to 44. And as you may guess, this is now going to paint everything that is below that Y level like this. All right, so that is the Y mask. Next up, there is the angle mask. Angle mask is very, very powerful. Basically, it uses the angle of the terrain. So what does the angle of the terrain mean? Well, the top of this terrain here is facing upwards, right? And so therefore, it has an angle here of positive 90 degrees, okay? Conversely, if you have terrain here that is, let's disable this. If you have terrain at the bottom of a surface, this will have an angle of negative 90 degrees, right? And then obviously blocks here that are at a flat angle here will have an angle of 0 degrees. So with that in mind, you can use the angle mask here to pick only particular blocks that are within the angle that you want. So for example, angle 0 within a range of 20 will only paint blocks that are roughly horizontal, right? Which there isn't many of here, right? But as you can see, it's only painting sort of the horizontally facing blocks. We can also put in angle of 90 in a range of 20, which looks something like this. So now it's only painting the blocks that are facing up, and the blocks that are on the side of this surface are unaffected. So one thing I will also mention about masks is that you can use them in combination with selection tools, right? So for example, if we have an angle mask here, right, and we make a big selection, you can see that the angle is checked for this entire box selection. And this allows you to do some very, very cool tricks. So let's, for example, keep this angle mask, right? And let's select, say, the side of this mountain with this angle mask. And this will give us a bunch of blocks right here that are facing upwards. And let's go ahead and do select expand. Let's expand the selection by 2 blocks just so it's a bit more, has a bit more coverage. And then we can apply, say, something like a smooth snow to it, right? And so just like that, we've quickly applied smooth snow to kind of like the top faces, right? Now, obviously, if you want a bit more snow coverage, you can increase the range here. So let's, for example, do a range of 45 degrees, and then we'll do this box select again, which will find all the blocks here that have, or they're within 45 degrees, which is a lot. But let's do the same trick here where we expand the selection, and we'll go ahead and use the smooth snow. And as you can see, we've now gotten a very, very nice smooth snow effect, which only affects kind of the tops of blocks in a slightly more realistic way. So that's just one of the really, really neat things you can do with the angle mask. There's a lot more use cases, and I encourage you to go out and find them on your own. Those are the Y and angle masks. Next up, there are some other simple masks. So for example, in selection, this just checks if a block is inside your selection. And this is actually the default behavior. So by default, obviously, all tools will respect your selection, right? So if you have, say, a freehand draw here, right, you can see it only affects stuff inside of your selection. If you add the mask here, obviously, it's not going to change that. But one neat thing you can do with this is you can put it inside a not mask. So if you go not in selection, this actually turns your selection into a negative mask. Which means that as we use the tool over here, you can see it is affecting everything except for the blocks that are inside of our box. So cool trick you can do there with not in selection. Next up, we have can see sky. So this one is fairly self-explanatory. It makes sure that the block has a line of sight directly to the sky. So let's use the painter for this one. So most of these blocks do have a line of sight to the sky. So let me just quickly build a little thing here. Right, so now if we were to use this with the painter, you can see it's only, it doesn't affect the blocks that are down here. It doesn't affect the blocks that are inside of this because you need direct access to the sky. So that's just a fun one you can do. Pretty useful if you're trying to do like grass or flowers or things like this. And lastly, there is surface, which just checks that there is a non-solid block next to it. So obviously it's the same as the painter's mask surface option here, but you can apply it to other tools. So those are all of the masks. Or is it? There is also this scripting section, which is very, very fun. Now, I am not going to teach you how to write Lua scripts in this video. That is a bit out of scope, but I will give you a taste for some of the things that you can do if you were to learn Lua scripting. If you hover over this thing, you can see all of the kind of functions and variables you have available, but I'm going to jump over to examples here to show some of the examples. So for example, if we want to mask a single block, we can do that like this: return get block xyz is equal to blocks.stone, which let's change this to blocks grass underscore block, and that is just going to mask the grass block here. But the cool thing is, you can, do whatever kind of logic you want, right? So like, let's, for example, do x plus 2 or something, right? And so now it's only checking if the block that is plus 2x is, or plus 2x is grass, right? So you end up with this kind of weird layered effect, right? So yeah, obviously the Lua masks here are a lot more flexible than the normal masks, but at the cost of having a way steeper learning curve. There's also a example here for masking the top 3 to 4 blocks. This is basically like a topsoil, which basically calculates the depth and then checks whether the depth is within a certain range. So if we were to use this on particularly steep terrain over here, well, I guess it's let's adjust this, right? So let's do like I don't know, 2 and then 1 or something, right? And you can see that it is now only masking the top blocks. So that is cool. You can have a look at that example. There's also simplex noise. So this allows you to basically use noise on any tool. So if you want to, for example, place a shape with noise, you can grab the shape tool here, right? Get a sphere, and when you place it, you'll see it uses the noise here. So that is the simplex noise. There's also Voronoi edges here, right? Does a bit of Voronoi edge noise, and then there's another example. So yeah, scripting, very, very flexible, but quite a steep learning curve there. But if you're familiar with Lua, or you're willing to learn Lua, they can there'd be a massive benefit to your building workflow. The last thing I'm going to mention with masks here is presets. So if you do end up creating a script or a mask that you are a big fan of, for example, if we want to do the mask we had at the very, very start of the video with the grass block and the dirt, and let's say we're a huge fan of this mask and we want to have access to it very, very easily, we can click the create new preset button here, call it my mask or whatever name you want, and now you'll easily be able to load it simply by switching to it in this drop down. Of course, if you want to get rid of it, you can do so with the delete button. There's also a similar preset thing for the scripts here. And that is everything about tool masks. As I mentioned earlier in the video, there is a lot here. I highly encourage you to experiment on your own, to try different masks, to try different combinations of masks to achieve the effects that you want. Of course, if you need help with masks or you want to ask questions about it, feel free to join the Axiom Discord and make a support ticket. And yeah, that is it. I hope you found this useful, and I will see you all later. Bye-bye.